say, oh, sorry. So at 6, we will adjourn for a few minutes, then we will proceed with the...
Person, I think you're muted.
We are unable to hear you. We can see that you are probably trying to convey a message.
I think they've muted me because on my side, I am on.
Yeah, we can hear you also, Chair. They must just check on their side what the issue is.
Yeah, no, I think
They know.
I think the problem is on their side. Can you hear me now? Secretariat, can you communicate with them?
Yes, Chair, we're trying to do that.
Okay. Can we come back at 20 past?
It's in order, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Even muted, I'm trying.
Just use it.
Yeah.
No, they can't hear. He's our IT guy. They can only hear you.
They can only hear me.
Okay, then let's look at
Benita?
Yes, we
Thank
can hear
you.
now.
Yes, we can hear you now. CEO, you can proceed. Welcome. You can proceed with your presentation. You have 45 minutes. You are muted. You are muted.
Okay. Okay, we apologize. Chairperson, if you can just give us a few minutes, we still have a terrible echo on our side.
Afternoon, Chair members.
Yes, yeah.
CEO, I'm aware that I'm sure you have more than one devices in the room that you are in. Can you please ensure that the other laptops are switched off in terms of their speaker, and even yours yourself? That's what is causing the echo. You have more than one devices in one room.
The mouse doesn't. Yeah. We sincerely apologize, but everybody has muted now. Is muted. So, Chairperson, if you allow, I will continue with the presentation. And I will take you through our presentation, first starting with the institutional performance. And I'm going to take you through a slide on PPSA, the year at a glance. The first line on that screen, the first column talks to our institutional resources. We've been allocated a budget of 3.62 million rands. And from that budget, we were able to appoint 368 people to assist us with the work that we're supposed to do. And our footprint remained the same, where we had one national office, we have 9 provincial offices, and we also deployed 45 drop boxes across the country to make sure that our services are accessible to people on the ground. And then the next segment talks to the number of cases that we dealt with. From the previous year, we carried over 1,997 matters to the report, to the year under review. And then of those matters, then we also received an additional 6,826 matters. And we were able from those two numbers to handle 8,823 matters, and we finalized 686 matters. The 823 matters also include the 798 matters where we found the matters to be outside our jurisdiction, and then we referred them to other institutions, and the referrals then amounted to 1,405 matters. And over and above all that, we also did 97 radio stations, because we are mindful of the fact that the drop boxes might not be sufficient to reach out to all the communities, but we also use the radio stations as well to communicate with the people on the ground, especially those who might want to access our services. And the next slide then talks to the summary of the institutional performance. We're able to achieve 86% of our targets, and there's 14% that we could not achieve, and we will explain further why. And this slide then, the next slide then shows our performance over the last 3 years, starting with the year 2019-20, where we achieved 79% of our planned targets. And during the year 2021, we achieved 83%. And in the year under review that we're presenting today, we were able to increase our performance by another 3% to 86%. So our performance indicates that we are on a sliding scale up, and we're hoping that probably in the current financial year, we'll be able to increase even further, probably to 100% if possible. So on administration, we had a planned target of maintaining our clean audit, as the acting PP has already mentioned, that we achieved our clean audit for the 3rd time in a row. On investigations, which is our core business, we had planned to complete investigation reports. We planned 50 investigation reports. We were able to exceed this target because we finalized 112 investigations. And why we were able to finalize so many reports, Chairperson and honorable members, is because of the efforts that we put in place and all the other measures. We had people working overtime, flat out, even during the festive season, because we're mindful of our backlog. So we're trying to finalize as many matters as possible that were on our backlog. So we also introduced a tracking mechanism. We strengthened the quality assurance, the file inspections, to make sure that no matter actually falls behind. And we had as well the executive authority also playing a critical oversight to make sure that we push the matters, because we had a huge backlog at the beginning of the financial year. So that's why we're able to finalize so many matters over and above the planned 50. The next target was the percentage of 2 years and older matters, because we still had matters that were 2 years and older, which we normally term as backlog. And we also put measures in place to try and finalize those matters. However, we're not able to finalize all these matters. We had a 15% of the matters that we had planned to finalize couldn't be finalized during this reporting period. And it's primarily because some of the matters are really complex. One can think of the matters that involve ESCOM, IMFS. Those are complex matters. And sometimes it really becomes difficult. We found ourselves having to consider getting additional capacity by way of subject matter experts to come and help us with those matters. But whilst we're investigating these matters that are old and as well as the current matters, we're also trying to put measures in place to make sure that we don't end up with another backlog. So we're trying to balance between pushing the old matters as well as making sure that we prevent a further backlog, making sure that the new matters are finalized within the turnaround times, because we don't want to find ourselves pushing the old matters only to create a new backlog in the long run. So that's why, but with the capacity that we have, unfortunately, it was really difficult to finalize all the matters, because we had the new 6,000 matters over and above the old matters that we're trying to finalize. Then the next one is as part of our work, we also do systemic investigations from time to time, where we identify systemic challenges that affect a number of people, characterized by a number of similar complaints reported to the public protector. So we had planned to finalize one systemic investigation and also identify 2 new ones, because a systemic investigation normally takes up to 2 years. So it's not an investigation that we finalize within 1 year. So whilst we finalize one, during that financial year, we start as well identifying the new matter that will be finalized in the new year. So we've exceeded that because we did 2 systemic investigations, and we're able to also identify 1 additional systemic investigation that we're currently busy with as an institution. We also have a target. We had a target to finalize matters, to make sure that we measure our speed within which we can finalize matters, because I'm sure the members can remember that we have different timeframes for different matters. Like we have the early resolution matters that we must finalize within 6 months, the service delivery matters over 12 months, GGI matters, which are good governance and integrity matters, which are a bit more complex than the other matters. We have a time frame for 24 months. So whilst it's important for us to investigate, we're also mindful of the fact that we have to stick to the timeframes, because that's prescribed as well by our standards. So we were able to exceed this target. So most 85% of the matters were finalized within the turnaround time, as opposed to the 80% that was planned. And again, it's because of strict project management and tracking of the matters, and making sure that we track these matters through dashboards and on a quarterly basis. so that we pick up on all the on any matter that could have been falling behind and put measures in place. That's why I'm talking about strengthening our project management, because we found ourselves having to project manage some of the projects to make sure that they don't fall behind. As part of our work, it's important for us to also build stakeholder relations. So especially with an intention to improve good governance within the institutions, the state institutions. So we had planned to have 10 bilateral meetings with the organs of the state, especially where we pick up a number of challenges coming from that institution. So we're able to complete 12 of those bilateral meetings with the organs of the state, which means that the target was exceeded by 2 meetings during the reporting period. We also have developed previously an integrated community access and stakeholder management strategy. And as part of the strategy, then we planned 42 activities that we were supposed to finalize to undertake within that financial year. We've exceeded the target because we're able to do 103 activities towards this integrated strategy. We had planned only to do 36 radio stations. However, because of the relationships that we've built with the radio stations, the media space, we're able to finalize, because they then continuously invite us, which means then we did not pay for some of the radio slots, and that enabled us then to do 97 radio interviews. And this was critical for people to get access to information in terms of what services can they expect from us, and should they have any other problem. So we use problems that they want to bring to our attention. So we're using the radio stations then to educate the clients, meaning the South Africans, about our services. And sometimes we also pick up from those radio stations people who need our assistance, and then we follow up then through telephones to get them to lodge their problems with us, so that we are able to intervene and assist them. Then the next segment talks to the human resource management, because we believe human resources, our people are our greatest asset in the institution. Without them, we won't be able to do the work that we do. So during this reporting period, we were able to recruit 28 new employees. It is unfortunate that as we recruit people, others leave for promotions and for other reasons probably. And we recruited 28, but then we had 24 people leaving the institution. And then at the end of the reporting period, our vacancy rate was standing at around 7.18%. So these are some of the reasons then why people left the institution. We had unfortunately 2 deaths. We lost 2 employees during this reporting period, and we had 16 people resigning. And as I said, most of the people resign because they get promotions elsewhere. PPSA has a very young workforce. So our people are highly mobile because they are still very young. So they are marketable. So they're using us sometimes as a training ground. We have some young men who joined the institution not long. On the other day, he was telling us that he's leaving, and the offer that he got from another department is just too high for us to match, unfortunately. But his passion is also in that department. So it becomes difficult then to retain people like those. So that's why the number looks a bit high of resignations. And we had 2 people dismissed on misconduct. One was dismissed on inefficiency, and it's because we didn't confirm the probation at the end of the probationary period, because we were not really satisfied with the level of performance of the employee. And we had 2 people retiring from the institution because they've reached the retirement age. The next slide talks to the personnel expenditure per program. And as indicated, as you can see there, most of our personnel expenditure goes to our investigation, because that's where the bulk of our people are located. Investigations, which is our core business, and then the administration staff accounted for 23% of the expenditure on personnel, and the stakeholder and management also only accounted for 4%. I think that concludes my presentation for now, and then I'm going to hand over, Chairperson, if you allow, to our acting CFO to take us through the finances.
Evening to you, as well as the honorable members.
Evening. You are muted.
Thank you, Chairperson. Am I audible? Am I audible, Chairperson?
Yes, you are.
You are audible.
Thank you very much. Evening to you, Chairperson, and the members. I'll be taking you through the financial information of Public Protector for financial year 21-22. We'll move straight to slide number 31. PPSA, like the acting PP indicated, as well as the CEO, will remain with our clean audit for the past 3 financial years, as far back as 2019-20 to 2021-22. We remain with the unqualified with no findings, which translate to clean audit. In terms of the key highlights for the financial year 2021-22, like I have indicated before, we maintain our clean audit. And then in terms of the audit findings, we remain with the number of 21 non-material audit findings under review. And then somewhere in November 2021, we received a bailout from Department of Justice. However, at the end of the financial year, we could not spend all the money as this amount was received late, and our procurement process normally takes up to 3 months to be concluded. We reported a surplus of 35.1 million compared to the previous financial year. However, like I've indicated, we received 30 million towards the end of the financial year. And then the balance of 5 million could not be spent due to the positions that were vacated, and not that, for like CEO already indicated, that we've got a high vacancy rate. PPSA was given approval by National Treasury as per the requirements of instruction note number 12 to retain its surplus. However, we have plans to utilize this money on projects such as the one that includes the ICT. PPSA financial viability was assessed and found to be good by Auditor General of South Africa. In terms of our expenditure review or our financial performance for the year under review, which is 21-22, our total revenue stands at 374 million. And then our expenditure stands at 339 million, with a breakdown as follows. Under administration program, 146 million. The reason why we've got 146 million is because most of our contracts that includes issues like rental of buildings, they are being budgeted under administration. Investigations, it's at 181 million. However, most of the cost in investigation relates to COE. Complaints and stakeholder management stands at 11.6 million. In terms of the economic classification, COE stands at 245 million. Our administrative expenses stand at 8.7 million. The depreciation and amortization, 4.8 million. Finance costs, which includes interest, 1.1 million. This interest relates to the post-employment medical benefits. It's an accounting treatment transaction. Loss on disposal of assets for 43,000, actuarial gains and losses, 71,000, which is also an accounting treatment transaction. Overall, the surplus that I've reported previously in the previous slide stands at 35.1 million. In terms of personnel costs and vacancies, administration, the total expenditure of administration program stands at 146 million. However, on that 146 million, 38% relates to the COE. Under investigations, our total expenditure stands at 181 million. The COE of it stands at 99% with a vacancy of 24 positions. And then stakeholder management with a total expenditure of 11.6 million. And then with the personnel or COE expenditure of 87%. However, we were not having vacancies within a CSM. In terms of the irregular expenditure, when we closed our financial year, which is our opening balance, which was 2021 financial year, we were standing at the irregular expenditure balance of 10 million. And then during the year, a condonation was given by National Treasury to condone 1.6 million. And then when we closed our financial year 2021-22, our irregular expenditure stands at 8.4 million. Most of these irregular expenditures date as far back as 2013-14. However, we are still investigating and still going to submit some of this investigation for remedial action so that they can be cleared from our financial statements. In terms of the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, we closed our 2021 financial year with a fruitless expenditure of 746,000. And then for the 2021-22, there's a slightly reduction of 618,000. However, for this current financial year, the ones that relates to this financial year, we incurred 52,000. I'll hand over to CEO. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Tiamo. Chairperson, if you allow, we were also requested to indicate our spending requirements for the next financial year. So I'm just quickly going to take the members through what we require. We mentioned earlier on, acting PP indicated that our staff complement was reduced by a huge number. Having said that, we continue to have the 23 critical posts that we cannot fill. Much as we have a surplus of 5 million, maybe I should explain the surplus that my acting CFO alluded to earlier on. The surplus came as a result of the time delay savings mostly, where we have to fill positions when somebody leaves, and then we probably take 3 months to fill that position. That money accumulates, and that's why we talk about the time delay savings. So it's not money that we can utilize to fill critical positions, because then it won't have a carry-through effect. For us to fill posts, we need new money, because then you have to factor in the carry-through costs of that post over the years. Then we also will require an additional amount, approximately 7 million, for the Section 194 process that's happening now in Parliament, because this is an expense that we didn't really budget for. However, we are in talks for the current financial year with the Department of Justice to also bail us out. And it seems as if they might be in a position to assist. But for the next financial year, should this process extend beyond the current financial year, we might need additional funding for that, because it's an expense that we didn't anticipate and that we didn't budget for. The honorable members have previously raised the issue of security in our provincial offices. And so we require, at least in the next financial year, an amount of about 6.1 million for security. We are currently undertaking a process to do an audit of all our offices, because for us to know what level of security to deploy, we need to do an audit to determine the risk associated with every office, because that will inform us the extent and the number of security personnel that we deploy in each office. So that's a process that we are just about to finish. And we believe for the current financial year, we can probably be in a position to carry the costs from our baseline. But going forward, we will require additional funding to do that. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in trouble. And over and above that, we have the telephone system. As we mentioned earlier on, I think acting PP mentioned that we are activating a system of call me back for people, especially those who are in the rural areas, and those who do not have smartphones to utilize all our other channels. We want to create that Please Call Me app for them to be able to call us, to send us a message, to call them back, so that we are able to assist them as well. So we have deployed the PABL system at head office. However, there are some offices, we only have it now in 6 of the 17 offices, so it means we require funding to deploy to the other offices throughout the country to make sure that people can access the service and we are able to respond to them, because it's no use somebody sending you a please call me if you don't return their call. So it's important for us to have this system to be able to talk to our clients out there. I think that completes, it's only those, it's not a lot of money that we require because we are trying to be as prudent as possible. That's why we have a surplus, and every year we've been declaring a surplus because of our prudence. But we believe that that extra money can really help us, can go a long way to assist us. We thought we should also just touch on the issues of governance within the institution, primarily those that are legislated, like the audit committee. We continue to have the audit committee fully functional within PPSA, and we also want to extend our gratitude to them, to the members of this committee, because they've been very instrumental in ensuring that we continue to get our clean audit, and they've discharged their responsibilities as required by Treasury regulations, and to look into the effectiveness of our internal control system within the institution. Though from time to time, internal audit will audit and they will pick up all those matters that the AG find not to be material enough to affect the audit report, but it is still important. That's why we have internal audit to continuously assess our environment, whether the controls that we have in place are adequate and are effective, and then pick up on those issues so that we can self-correct. They also continued, the audit committee, to provide guidance and support on the risk management activities to make sure that we identify our risks and make sure that we put plans in place. They also provide great input to the annual financial statements to make sure that they are adequate, reliable, and accurate and reliable. That's why we have these clean audits continuously. It's because of the contribution of the audit committee. And they also make sure that they monitor the implementation of the AGSA audit action plans, as well as the recommendations that come from the internal audit function. And they also look at our level of compliance with our regulatory and legal frameworks within the institutions. And they've continued to provide guidance and their independent assessment as well as input in that regard. So in the reporting, in the period under review, they were able to consider 25 internal audit reports that were presented to them, and then engage with management and provide their independent assessment and guidance in that regard. So we continue to implement all the recommendations just to make sure that we don't find ourselves in trouble. And Chairperson, then the next segment then talks to the first quarter performance, which is the first quarter of the current financial year as requested. In the first quarter, we were able to achieve 67% of our planned targets, and we were sort of lagging behind with 33%. And I will just explain the reasons in the next slide. The first target is the implementation of the case management solution, because previously we had our system manual, which is very time consuming, and it takes up a lot of time that we could be using on investigations, trying to sort out the information and all that. So we have been able to develop the system, which is now being implemented. So in the first quarter, we were able to achieve the 6% that we planned. And we continuously then also provide training to our staff members to be able to operate the system. And we're also looking for opportunities then on how we can expand then the use of this. Because as you implement a system, you realize that there are other areas that you can automate. So we're looking into that, and we might probably by the end of the financial year automate some of the systems, some of the processes that are linked to this case management application that we have developed. Then we plan to finalize 17 investigation reports in the first quarter, and we were able to achieve all 17 of these reports. Then there's a target to finalize 80% of all our cases within the turnaround time. We were unable to complete the 80%. However, we achieved 70%, and we put measures in place to make sure that we continue again to projectize these matters and make sure that we achieve them within the turnaround time. And as I said earlier on, last year we were pushing the target so people couldn't take leave because we were pushing the target. Now this year, unfortunately, we had to give people some time off to take their leave. Otherwise, we will be found wanting because we have to comply with the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and people were supposed to be given leave, but because they couldn't take leave last year, so last year's leave was moved to this year, and the leave had to be taken before the end of the first quarter. So that's why then some of the matters then we found that we were unable to complete them because some of the people had to take leave. But as I say, we have put measures in place. Again, we'll be projectizing, making sure that we maximize on the limited resources that we have and strike a balance between people resting and people also finalizing the matters, but also deploying the resources where there's a greater need. So to make sure that our investigators support each other. We've planned to have 2 dialogues during the first quarter, and we've exceeded this target because we had 3 bilateral dialogues with the organs of the state. And as I indicated earlier on, this is very critical for us to bring to their attention the issues and the challenges that we're picking up during investigations. That in most cases is those issues that keep repeating, the institutions that continuously have to have repeat complaints reported to us. So it's important. So that's why we had 3, because there was a need to consult with an additional one, which we found to be on our radar. And we decided to bring it forth and consult with that institution as well. And one of the new targets that we had planned for this year, in an attempt to try to make sure that we have everybody supporting us and helping us to ensure that our remedial action is implemented, is the report that we submitted to Parliament by the end of June. This is a new target that we included in the current APP to make sure that we also then share this report, especially where people do not implement, where organs of the state do not implement remedial action. We submitted the report to Parliament and we received feedback from the Speaker, who referred the matter, the report, to the Deputy President, who's the head of government, to make sure that the matters are raised as well through that structure within the executive, to make sure that the remedial action is implemented. And we're doing this not because we want to report people to Parliament, but this is the only way in which we can measure our successes, measure our impact on the people, on the matters that have been reported to us. Because issuing a report is one issue, but if the remedial action is not implicated, then it defeats the whole purpose of the investigation. That's why it's important for us to put all stops to make sure that the remedial action is implemented. And we're hoping that probably the portfolio committee and the members will spread the word amongst the other portfolio committee members and encourage them as well to encourage their departments and monitor the implementation of this remedial action. Then on stakeholder management, customer and stakeholder management, we planned to finalize a number of matters, 117. We planned for the year 117 activities, and we had planned to do 1 national event, 27 awareness sessions, and 3 CBOs, because we realized that we have all these MOUs with other people, but we also then have to look into other community-based organizations like traditional leaders and probably faith-based organizations to try and get them to play an advocacy role for us, because they are closer to the people of South Africa. So we plan to sign 3 MOUs in the first quarter. We were able to identify 14 of them, yet we plan to identify 3. The only target we could not reach is the 21 public, when we did 21 public awareness sessions instead of the planned 27. And primarily the reason is, I must say, actually it's embarrassing because the reason is internal, but we are self-correcting because we didn't foresee the possibility of some of the radio stations that we want to utilize, especially in the communities, not being on the supplier database. So we found ourselves having to follow the deviation route to get those people, because it's important for us to talk to the right people to get the messages to the people that we want to target. So it's a pity that the community radio stations are small, so they do not register normally on the supplier database. So we had to follow the deviation process, which also in the National Treasury, just to make sure that we get the right message to the right people on the ground. And then on the revenue and expenditure.
CEO, you're left with 10 minutes.
It's a lot of time. Can I ask the CFO to, the document is a bit small for my eyes. I'm gonna ask my acting CFO to take us through the figures once more.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll be taking you through the revenue versus expenditure for the quarter 1 performance. As we all know that PPSA is funded from DOJ for the first 3 months of the financial year. The transfer amounts to 83.6 million, the interest income of 686,000, and then other income of 28,000. The total revenue amounts to 84.3 million. In terms of expenditures, compensation of employees stands at 62.9 million. The goods and services, 14.3 million. The depreciation stands at 949 million. The total expenditure is 78.26 million. And then we've got preliminary surplus of 6.6 million. However, this preliminary should be viewed in a context that some of the positions were vacated, like we've been indicating, and then some of the procurement processes are still ongoing in terms of the goods and services. So the preliminary surplus at the end of the financial year won't exist because of those things. Then in terms of the economic classification, we spent 23% of our staff costs, which amounts to 62.9 million. And then our goods and services, we spent 17%, which is 14.3 million. Depreciation and amortization stands at 949,000, which equates to 22%. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, CEO. Acting Public Protector.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. That would be the conclusion of our presentation.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Since we have been advised that at 6 there will be load shedding, I think, in Parliament. So I suggest that Bonani, you will correct me if I'm wrong. A generator does not take that much. If maybe we can come back at 6:05, will it be fine? Sia?
Chair, I think the public protector team should confirm that, because they are the ones who are going to have the load shedding. So I don't know how that, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was on your side. Okay.
No, the public protector.
Oh, okay. PP, how long will it take?
It takes about 2 to 3 minutes, Chairperson, to reconnect.
So let's come back at 6:05.
Okay.
We thank you for the indulgence.
No, thank you very much. Members, can we come back at 6:05 and then we will be noted for questions. Thank you very much.
Good, Chair.
Chairperson, not yet. I think load shedding only started now that side.
Okay. Maybe let's wait for the 2 minutes that they asked for then.
Even this side, I'm already on the load shedding.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but we'll try.
No,
We'll
I
try.
think on our side it's coming at 10. I think I don't see too many hands. I think we will finish quite quickly.
Yeah, I think they will switch off the videos. I think it
Yes.
will. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair. Hey.
Ukhona kanti?
Yes, Chair, I'm around. But I was just remembering that there is a man that received a recusal application on the basis of his comments in this committee. I don't know if he will have views today.
Yeah, no. Committee secretary will advise when they've joined.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Ngola, when are you sitting again?
I think we're sitting Thursday and Friday next week, the 27th and the 28th. We set today
Okay.
to consider another recusal application. Then we're considering other matters, including finalizing some witnesses that are brought by the evidence leaders next week. Then it will be the closure of the evidence leaders' witnesses to the committee, and will therefore expect the public protector to adduce her case. So, but we are to entertain the entire program next week in the next week meeting. So, so for now, we only know Thursday and Friday next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Oh, that's fine.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. We wish to apologize for the
recording in progress.
Okay, you can proceed.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you very much. We also forgot to say happy 27th anniversary. If you're in Cape Town, we're going to buy you, all of you, a cake.
You denied that opportunity, Chair.
It was going to be paid for by Honorable Breitenbach. So I think I think for your 28th anniversary, let's hope that we will be physical.
We hope so too, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Chair, they must throw something and invite us in Gauteng.
In Gauteng, yes. No, I think so.
Budget for that, Honorable Mola.
You want him to repeat?
I think we'll need a budget for that.
No, no comment. We have the following hands: Honorable Maseko Jele, Honorable Stephen Swart, Honorable Velmani Voort-Tuchen, in that order. Welcome back, Honorable Breitenbach. We received your apology that you are going to be delayed. Honorable Maseko Chele.
Thank you, Chairperson. And good evening to Advocate Talega and the team. And I feel much better now, Chair. I just felt very much uncomfortable when we were getting a small report from Honorable Mola. Like, oh, but thank you very much. That was on a lighter note, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. Let me take this opportunity, Chair, and congratulate Honorable, I mean to say, congratulate Advocate Talega and the team. Maybe next time he's coming to join us, because I have already pronounced that Honorable Advocate Talega. But Chair, congratulations, Sisi, on your third consecutive clean audit report. And we really appreciate that. It's not easy. Many institutions, they are struggling so much to get what you are getting. So we really appreciate as a committee, and we expect more, you know, that Bati Hashi Eli Kichima Eli Shawaraku. So we are still on you to make sure that you perfect that which is still outstanding, maybe those things that you still have to work on them, as particularly on the report of the AG Chairperson. I think the office must make sure that they perfect that one. They look into those recommendations and make sure that they satisfy in correcting and meeting the standard. On the first issue that I would want to comment, Chair, it is on the issue. I see that they have increased some of the targets, those ones of the investigation reports being finalized, and the one that of the systematic investigation finalized from 2 to 3 also. So my only concern would be, because it seems as if they are suffering, or not suffering per se, but yes, but they are being hit hard on those that are leaving the institution, coming and exiting the institution. They are now sitting on, just the report was giving us 7.18, but when we checked, it was almost, because those others that left, maybe they have not also reported on 9.
The meeting.
Honorable Ngola.
It's not me. It's Mr. Mtonje.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies, Honorable Ngola. Mr. Mtonje, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think I would want to ask them maybe to comment on how are they going to make sure that they don't drop the ball when it comes to that, looking at the vacancies, positions that they are having, Chairperson. And also, I would be very much interested to also hear the report from the position of the COO. The last time when they were reporting, it was like they're eliminating that position from the structure, but it seems as if it's coming back from this report. So if maybe they can comment as to why are they bringing it back, Chair. And also the concern on the acting positions that they are having, just to make sure that they work hard in making sure they fill those vacancies, the acting positions, because we don't want them when they come back, they still have that, Chair. So on the issue of human resource, I think I will end there. And also I have a comment on the skill development training, Chairperson. They are reporting here that they had 5 days training course. they give us the dates by the SIU trainers. I just wanted to find out, Chair, with the new staff that is coming, that they joined them, that joined, Chair. Is this 5-day training enough, or are they still considering to add more of these trainings to make sure that they beef up and close those gaps? If they can comment on that one, Chair, I would really appreciate that one. And then on the issue of mobile referral, I hear that Advocate Galega, when was giving us a presentation, that this is free for now. But I wanted to find out that, are we going to incur some costs in future on this one? Is it going to stay like this, free, or maybe they are going to have to build this one also going into the future, Chair? If they also can also comment on that. On the issue of the report of the AG chairperson on the performance, there are some weaknesses that the AG noted. So I just want to find out from the team, particularly on the issues of security management. The AG find that the newly appointed, there were newly appointed employees which were not subjected to security verification. If they can comment on that, chairperson, why was it not vetting done on this one? And also on the issue of finding where the AG find the discrepancies with regard to the implementation and monitoring of those video fight security system, particularly at the provincial offices. If they can give us information on that also. And again, on the issue of facility management, the AG was not happy with the deficiencies on the records management practices. Why was it that? Those deficiencies, how are they planning to work on them? Lastly, Chair, on the issue of the fleet management, this one I would want to, the Office of the PP to give us a report as to, was there any consequence management on the part of the discrepancies with fuel expenditure and submission of petrol? Because those ones, Chair, they might be, they have to make sure that, chairperson, we get these people who are involved on this one. Or disciplinary chairperson processes to be activated on this one. I think that was the last one, Chair. I would say I support that the office must get additional funding, Chair, if we want to get 100%, because that's what I'm looking for when they come back. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Swart.
No, thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Acting Public Protector and the team for a good report. And I also just want to join my colleague in saying well done on the third consecutive unqualified clean audit, but we expect nothing less from Chapter 9 institutions. And so that one trusts that this will be maintained going forward. My colleague, Honorable Maseko Kujele, has raised some of the issues of the Auditor General, which I'm not going to repeat. I did want to raise the issue of the CFO position, and when that will be filled. I think that is obviously a very critical position. And then when one considers an issue which I have raised in the past, and that is a concern about legal fees, particularly given the high number of reviews, and of course now the impeachment matter in Parliament, which is also additional legal costs. According to the annual report, legal fees, consultation and professional fees, which includes legal fees, is 31.59 million in 2020-21 and 25.42 million in 21-22. Now, in May, we asked the question about legal fees, and the response we got then was 38.8 million was spent on legal fees in 2021. That's almost 7 million rand more than the figure given in the annual report, and 28.24 million in 21-22, which is about 3 million rand more. I think it's not so much about the figures, but just there seems to be some inconsistency between your annual report and the figures that were supplied to us. And maybe you can explain that, or maybe you can come back to us and in writing to explain what this issue was. Why is there this difference? And I think it will be also useful for a more detailed breakdown of the consulting and professional fees amounts. And that might explain why there is this discrepancy. I then also want to raise the issue of the 65% of the target of matters that are 2 years and older, when the target was 80%. But I fully appreciate some of these matters are huge, such as the ESCOM matter. So I think some latitude can be granted there when it comes to these very large matters. But I would like to get an understanding of what percentage are such large matters and what is going to be put in place to address that one target that has not been met. Then when it comes to the always challenging issue that the Public Protector's Office faces, and that is the implementation of remedial action. Firstly, the issue of being taken on review, and I think I've already touched on that, but secondly, I think the cooperation with organs of state is a perennial problem, and I'm pleased that you now are receiving assistance from the Speaker's office, but I think that report that was referred to the 30th of June 2022 that was sent to the Speaker, Chair, I think we should get a copy of that so that we can also follow up from an oversight perspective, because the Speaker then, if I understood you correctly, referred that to the Deputy President as head of government business. But I think that and I was aware there was a call for us as Parliament in even other portfolio committees to assist in compliance, to assist the PPSA office in ensuring that departments do comply with remedial action. So I want to suggest we get a copy of that report. And I also wanted to ascertain, was your engagement with the Speaker via that office in the Speaker's office, which supports Chapter 9 institutions? Is there an ongoing relationship with that office, or is it, does it function at all? I'd be interested in ascertaining that. So from my side, I do appreciate the explanation about the surplus funds and the additional funds from the department, the under expenditure of 35.1 million with the extra 5 million, to the time lapse of filling vacancies. And I think one does get a clearer understanding that there are still financial constraints. When I first read that, one's first impression was why is the office asking for more funds when there appears to be a surplus? But one now has a slightly better understanding of the issues that that are being faced with when it comes to the time taken to fill these vacancies. Chair, the one last issue which I wanted to raise, and I'm trying to understand it, was the fact that there was an amendment to the 2022-23 annual performance plan with the removal of if I understand it correctly, the integrated investigation model. And there was a removal in a paragraph relating to that. And the paragraph read, a systematically integrated and nationalized revised investigation model. And the revised investigation model projects cases to tackle the prevalent backlog, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we can just get an understanding of the review of the investigation model in terms of the 21-22 setup, and in terms of the annual performance plan, and whether the new investigation model should be instituted or approved before the organizational development study has been completed. How do the two interrelate so that we can have a better understanding of that? So thank you from my perspective. Keep up the good work, and let us also, sorry, the last issue relates to the state capture report. I just wanted to get a better understanding of what role the public protector will be playing, if any. We understand it emanated from Advocate Thuli Madonsela's report way back when, but now when it comes, in fact, this weekend, Saturday, we are expecting President Ramaphosa to present an implementation model relating to the executive. Parliament will also be implementing recommendations relating to Parliament. Is it anticipated that the Office of the Public Protector will play any role, any further role, in the following up of recommendations that emanate from the Public Protector, from the State Capture Report? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swart. Honorable Nieuwhout Trochem.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And a good evening to the team from the Public Protector. And thank you for the presentation done. Can the host please spotlight Honorable Druchen? I would like to go back to where the Acting Public Protector introduced and said with regard to the mobile app, Okay, I would like to know if the mobile app has already been launched, because I tried to message, or is it a different name? I just wanted to check if it's already launched or if it's still coming. Then I'd like to agree with Honorable Swart with regards to the number of reports. If that report that was submitted to the Speaker's Office can also be submitted to us. And then with regards to the surplus, 300, I see only 5 million is for no expenditure for the positions. So means 30 million is still left. So can you give us a breakdown of what that is for? I just needed clarity on that. And then I see it also says 798 cases where no jurisdiction is. What is the breakdown of those cases? And 700 is quite a lot. So where does it go? I understand that you do refer the cases to other institutions, but 700 referrals, where does it go? Is it dropped, or what happens to those cases that are outside of your jurisdiction? Sorry. And then the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I'm just curious why that has happened and the reason behind it, and what steps are being taken to prevent it from happening again. There is a CCMA case of the Public Protector SA against Samuel. He won that case to be reinstated or to have a payout, but the payout wasn't done because the Public Protector wanted to appeal that. So I just wanted an update on that case. It's 1.5 million that needs to be paid out. So I'm just curious of what happened with regard to that case. And Then with regards to the staff, I see you have a staff component of 368, but you don't give us the equity breakdown. Of the 368, how many are female, how many are youth, how many are people with disabilities? So if we could just get that breakdown. And then the internships, do you have, and so far how many and how many was absorbed into the public protector to work there? Okay, the training, I covered that. And then I'd like to know the legal services. Are you fully capacitated, or do you still need more training to be provided? And then I see under SMS 91% performance agreements signed already. Why has 8% not been signed? Why not 100%? What happened to the other percentage? And then from that, how many people is that percentage that did not sign? How many in terms of numbers who didn't sign their performance agreements? And then I see you do advertise, or you go onto radio shows, but unfortunately for people like me and many people in South Africa, they do not have access to radios or can't access radio. I know it has been COVID, but is the public protector going to go back to having more community events where the people can also engage, the citizens can also engage the public protector of South Africa, and not only focusing on talking on radio? I think that is all for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nicole Trochans. Honorable Glenis Breitenbach.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good evening to you and to everybody. Please forgive me if I repeat questions. There was a short period where I really couldn't hear very well. And let me at the outset apologize for Honorable Horn in case it hasn't been placed on record yet that he's unable to attend this evening.
It's great to receive it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my questions are the following. There's been in the newspapers a lot of reporting on the abandoning of spurious litigation embarked upon by the public protector. I'm be interested to know how much is being saved as a result of this. What kind of savings has there been? And then have appointments been made to improve training of existing members? So have people been brought back or headhunted or appointed that will help with training current members? I'd like to hear a little bit more about a retention strategy and by way of career pathing. And then has the acting public protector given any thought to making in-house promotions to improve the performance of the office? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Breitenbach. Are there any questions, members? Okay, none. I have some few questions on my side. Firstly, let me also join members to congratulate you on your third clean audit and the fact that you have a vacancy rate below 10%. Very few in our stable that have been able to achieve that. Also that you have spent 91% of your budget to achieve 86% of the targets. In most cases, we always see a high expenditure with low achievements. So the variance between 91 and 86% is quite commendable, but we still urge you to achieve 100%, spend 100% and achieve 100%. That is the main, that will be the highest achievement where you should be striving for now. But we commend that you have been able to spend 91 and achieve 86. And you have been able to explain why you could not spend the further 9%. I think you have given some cogent reasons for why you could not achieve spend the 9%. But I have a number of questions that I would like to ask. One of them is that reports to the South African Human Rights Commissions were not submitted. Why were those reports or the report not submitted to the South African Human Rights Commission? Because at face value, you would want the assistance that you want from Parliament. I think they would cry foul that you are also not submitting reports. I think it will be important that we get an explanation with regard to that. The other concern is that in fact, I think it's the 4th or the 5th year in a row that you have been receiving some form of bailout from the Department of Justice. Which means that they might be challenged, or okay, let me phrase it this way. This is the 5th year that you have been receiving a bailout from the Department of Justice. Do you foresee a situation where in the next few years or in the MTF, if justice does not bail you out, that you'll be able to survive without those bailouts? Because we do see the surplus, but still, you still receive some bailout from the Department of Justice that is also struggling financially. There is also the issue of review application being processed without proof of approval. If you can clarify us as to why is that the case? And then newly appointed employees are not inducted within a prescribed period. I think that is serious. If we can get an explanation. Also, we can see that your employee cost from the report is 72%, and generally the recommended standard is that it must be at 66%. We do understand that you are labor intensive, but we also, I think we should flag that as a risk going forward, which talks to the underfunding that Honorable Jelle has raised, that I think going forward, it is going to catch up with yourselves if there is no serious intervention. There is also an issue of a service level agreement not in place for the appointed panel of legal firms. Why is that the case? I have talked to the issue of employees not inducted. Why is the operational risk register not signed off by the delegated authority, and who is the delegated authority in this case? If you can answer those, I think that will be all for now. I think Honorable Jelle did raise the issue of the COO position. If you can answer those. And then I think the last one, there has been a reduction since 2017 to your targets. I don't think we should be raising that for you alone, but I think as a recommendation that I would raise, I think we would, when you come back for the budget, even as Parliament, we would need to look at the targets, to relook at the targets, because since 2017, they've been going down, and we always encourage that we must try to do more with less. But I think we would need to look at your target much more closely. And since you are an overachieving organization, to see whether this overachievement, is it based on low targets, or we can try and stretch the targets and whether will you still be able to achieve above 80 with the stretch target, a reasonably stretched target. But I am concerned that since 2017, your targets have been, most of your targets have been going down. Those are the questions. Acting Public Protector, would you want some time to consult amongst yourself before you answer? Am I audible, members?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the honorable members. We are ready to respond to the questions. If Chairperson, you may allow, I would allow the team present here with the CEO, the CFO, the acting COO, and the executive manager responsible for corporate services as well as legal services to respond to the questions first, and then thereafter I would round up.
That is fine, Acting Public Protector.
Thank you, Chairperson. Over to you, CEO.
Ask a number of questions, but there's quite a number of questions. As Acting PP said, I'm going to ask my colleagues to help me to respond to some of the questions. The first questions come from the Honorable Masego Jele, and the first one talks to what measures are we putting in place to make sure that we correct what was identified by the AGSA. We do on an annual basis put measures in place. After we receive the AG's report, we normally develop an audit action plan to address all the issues raised by the AG, as well as those that come from the reports of the internal audit reports. And I've noted that most of the questions that were asked relate not to the AG's report, but to the internal audit report. That's why we said earlier on, internal audit is responsible for that. They are responsible for following us and making sure that they pick up on all these things. But we've put a plan together to address all those matters to make sure that we do not have repeat findings at the end of the financial year. So this is an exercise that we do every year, and we continue to do it even this year. The question about the increase in staff leaving the institution and what measures are we putting in place to make sure that, I'm sure the members have noticed that from the presentation, whilst we had 16 people leaving, 24 people leaving the institution, but we also had other people joining the institution. So it's a question of the revolving door. You get people today and then the others leave. So that's why we were able to have the staff, the vacancy rate sitting at 7% at the end of the financial year. So we try to fill the vacant positions as quickly as possible, but where we believe that we might probably come across problems, that's why earlier on I spoke about projectizing some of the matters so that our investigators are able to support each other during investigations, because when somebody leaves, we cannot park that investigation that they were busy with until such time we appoint somebody else. But we will take that investigation and allocate it to somebody else so that we don't waste time finalizing the matter. So we're really trying our best to fill the positions as quickly as possible to avoid any delays in filling these positions. And then as well as projectizing some of the matters to maximize on the people that we have to support each other. There's an issue of the skills development training. With regards to training, we don't only rely on the SIU, but we also use the Justice College for training as well. We also provide on-the-job training, especially for new employees. We have now established a process where on a monthly basis, we reserve some time for staff training, especially for people in the core business. We reserve time for compulsory training on various aspects of their work to make sure that they keep abreast with the developments in the investigation field, but as well as make sure that they understand the procedures, the standard operating procedures, the rules of the public protector. And most of the new people are allocated, especially at the lower level. They come qualified already with the legal or whatever qualifications. So they normally report to a more senior person within the institution, who will be either a senior investigator or a chief investigator, who also help them with on-the-job training so that they familiarize with the PPSA process or way of doing things. The issue of vetting of new employees, the process is that when we appoint new employees, we subject them to pre-employment screening, which means we check we verify the qualifications, as well as do reference checks on them with the SAPS as well to determine whether they do not have any criminal records. That's what we do before a person is issued with an appointment letter. But subsequent to that, then on appointment, they are subjected to filling of the forms that we send to State Security Agency, because the State Security Agency is the institution that does the full vetting of staff. So this vetting doesn't happen immediately, because it takes a while, because it's an involved process, but we do pre-employment screening as a quick win to make sure that if somebody is found to have had a criminal record, then we can quickly identify that, and those who do not have the relevant or authentic qualifications, then we are able to pick them up before we even appoint. So the vetting is basically done by State Security, and it takes a while, I must say. I think because of the numbers, and they are supporting all the other state institutions with vetting, that's why they're taking a bit of a while to do that. There was an issue that was raised by internal audit about the monitoring of the video fight security systems that we put in the provinces. The challenge has been that we do have admin people in the provinces, but they were not trained on that system. So it was difficult for them to, because if you are not trained on how the system works, you end up just looking at the system without actually understanding or knowing what you're looking for. So it's only now security management within PPSA is training them on what to look for when they look at those videos. So to enable them to do effective monitoring, because it was really not something that they were able to do because of the lack of understanding of the system and what to look for. Regarding fleet management, anybody who abuses any resources of the state is subjected in terms of the PFMA to a process. So as PPSA, we refer all those cases to the Financial Misconduct and Loss Control Committee within the institution, who will do an investigation and then advise on consequences. Where there has been fruitless expenditure as a result of misuse of the petrol cards, people are subjected to payment. We make sure that we recover the money of whatever fruitless expenditure that has been incurred from those people. So it's a process that's outlined in Section 83 of the Public Finance Management Act, and we follow it to the latter as PPSA. If you allow, Chairperson, I'll move to the questions raised by my colleagues. Will answer some of the questions that I had skipped because they relate to specific processes, and they will respond to them. If I should move to the Honorable Swart's questions, we will definitely provide a copy of the report that we submitted to the Speaker, and we really appreciate the fact that there's interest in this report. I think I must talk to the issue of the OD exercise. We did the OD exercise. It didn't go according to plan, because it seems as if the service provider slightly deviated from the planned, from the terms of reference that was given to him. So the report was referred back, and there was an engagement with the service provider. So the work is being sort of amended or redone, because there were parts that were not done completely, and then there were parts that were done, but they were not done to our satisfaction. So we couldn't just accept the report and pay. So we requested the service provider to do the work that they had skipped as per the terms of reference, and also fill the gaps that we've identified from their report. So they are in the process of finalizing that report, which we should get very soon. And then once we get that report, then we will develop then an implementation plan. But the other part of that work was the skills audit that needed to be done. So they are also finalizing then the skills audit so that we are able to match and place our employees once we get a sense of who will be better positioned in what area of our business. And most of the questions that from Honorable Swart will be responded to by the acting public protector. So I'll go then to the questions from Honorable Nivo. The surplus, as we said, constitutes 30 million that we received from Justice. And we indicated earlier on that the 30 million, unfortunately, came late. It came around November, December. And the projects that we wanted to use the surplus for required us to go on a supply chain process. And unfortunately, government rules do not allow you to go out on tender before you have confirmation of funding. So we had to first get the confirmation for these funds and then start the procurement processes, because it's things that we require to procure that require that money. So that's why we couldn't spend the 30 million rand, as well as the 5 million, as I said, is from time delay savings. Much as we try to push, as I said, it's a revolving door. You fill this post this month, next month you have 2 people leaving. So you're continuously filling positions, and there's always the 2 months to 3 months time lapse that we take to finalize the positions. We will provide a breakdown of equity numbers because we do have them actually in the actual document, in the actual annual report. It does provide, though right now I'm not sure what page, but I have the numbers here of how many people we have in what of the staff complement. So, but it's detailed numbers, so it won't really serve the purpose probably to read them out now. We can rather submit them in writing to the committee, because it shows the breakdown of how many people of what race do we have at what level. So it's very detailed. So it's just going to be a question of missing some of the numbers. So we will provide, I've got it here, we will provide to the honorable member. By tomorrow, we can send the information by tomorrow, because it is actually in the annual report. Then I'm gonna go to the issue of the outreach clinics. We had actually suspended the outreach clinics as a result of COVID-19. But as we proceed, we intend to go out to start with our outreach clinics, because we are mindful of the fact that there are people we cannot probably reach through the referral app or the radio stations, the radio interviews that we do. So we have all intentions actually to go back to the outreach clinics to reach out, especially to the people in the more rural areas who do not have the technology to reach us. Spoken to the issue, Honorable Breitenbach. I've addressed the issue of the training for the new members that we provide, both on the job training, but we also now forming serious partnership with the School of Government to make sure that we can tap on that as well to send our people for training there. We have a whole training plan that we develop at the beginning of every year. That's why we are able to continuously send people for training, and there's training that we identify that, as I said earlier on, that we're doing internally. And then I'm leaving all the litigation and the legal questions, the legal related questions, to Advocate Van der Merwe, who's gonna address them. Then I'm going to hand over to Advocate Van der Merwe, because it seems as if I've covered all the other questions that I was supposed to cover. Oh, the question from the chairperson about the operational risk register that was not signed on time. The risk registers, especially the operational risk registers, the risk register is a live document, so you continuously update it, because you don't want to be stuck with a register that talks to something that was a risk at the beginning of the financial year, and then now you're in January the next year, you still stuck with the old plan, because that plan might not work for you. So that's why then the process of reviewing and getting approval, and sometimes we miss the approvals, because as you approve this operational risk register, you find that the risk register has been amended, because we continuously review and we have emerging risks that must be taken on board all the time, which makes it sometimes difficult to continuously focus on approvals of the risk registers. If you allow, Chair, I'm going to hand over to Advocate Van der Merwe to deal with the issues of legal fees, as well as the reviews from the courts. Thank you, Chairperson.
Advocate Van der Merwe.
Good afternoon, Chair and honourable members. And thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I'm going to respond to some of the questions on the legal fees, the mobile referral app, records management, and also the legal service level agreements. On the legal fees, on the issue of the discrepancy, there are two questions that deals with the discrepancy as well as the savings. Those are specific figures that we don't have at hand at the moment, so we'll respond in writing. What we did, what the acting PP and the team did, was to do an audit of all the review matters on 3 levels, those that involve judicial review of public protector reports. And first of all, I should have started by saying, yes, the legal services team has been capacitated, and an audit has subsequently been conducted on the 3 levels, those that involve the reports, those that involves the incumbent and the Section 194 and impeachment process, as well as labor-related matters. And where the public protector, the office, were at risk because of gaps in investigations and adverse findings, the opposition was reviewed and steps were taken to pursue only those matters where there are very good prospects of defending the reports. The same goes with the labor matters. On that note, Samuel matter, it is correct that an award was given by the CCMA. The public protector, or the office, after considering the prospects as well as the implication of that decision, that they take steps to launch a judicial review of the CCMA award. And in terms of the Labour Relations Act, then put up security to stay the implementation of the award. So the money has been paid over into a trust account. It is there, but the payment is then pending the final outcome of the judicial review process. On the approval process for the appointment of legal service providers, as well as the service level agreements with attorneys, the Public Protector South Africa has a litigation management strategy, as well as a panel of attorneys and a tariff of fees. And the process have been reviewed because it was found that while the litigation management strategy was complied with in most instances, there were ensuing litigation from matters arising that where the same firm would have been proceeding with litigation on matters that were not covered in the original brief. And that gap has been filled in terms of both the process, where we've picked up on the appointment process to ensure that it complies with the litigation management strategy, as well as our fiscal governance, in ensuring that the invoices that are rendered are in accordance with the tariff of fees and also the appointment process. We are also looking at the matter historically to see what we can do about the past legal expenses that we had. And in cases where we do have an opportunity now to address it, we have raised disputes with some of the firms and are taking steps to refer matters, litigation matters for taxation. Then on the issue of the mobile referral app, first of all, the app has been launched. It's called PPSA Complaint Referral Application. It is available on Android, and there are minimum costs at the moment. It was just the initial cost to register it as an application on the Google Play platform. And we are not incurring any costs for the hosting of the database with the details of the various state departments. We've entered into an agreement with GCIS because they have a complete database and we're linking up with their database. And it also helps us then to keep up to date because that database is reviewed on a quarterly basis. As far as future cost is concerned, we are looking at the second phase of enhancing the app to provide for the Apple platform, or the OIS platform, which will be dependent on the budget available for developing costs. And the Apple platform, or the OIS, is a bit more expensive to host. So that will be based on the budget that we will review the budget and then continue with the development of the app. But in general terms, the app does not have major cost implications for the office. The way it was developed as well was in consultation with the Innovation Hub, and that saved a lot of costs for the public protector. On records management, the policies have been developed. The challenge has always been on the implementation of the records management policy and the plan, which was dependent on the finalization of the file plan as well as the digitization project. The digitization has now been boosted by the implementation of a case management system, which will mean that as far as the investigation files are concerned, it will undergo a digitization process where we will migrate the information from the actual case files, hard copy case files, to the electronic system. The file plan is being implemented now, or the final approval is being obtained, where we will also look at enhancing. We've got a capacity now for the development of electronic records management system, which will then be earmarked for the, I guess, for the next phase, to ensure that we have a system that in terms of which our records will be digitized, and that we will be able to follow the file plan. The one report that we are aware of that might not have reached the Human Rights Commission was the Section 52 report in terms of PAIA. It was the subject of internal audit processes because of capacity constraints in that unit and also POPIA. But the capacity has been enhanced, and we are working with the auditors to rectify any gaps that there might have been in the implementation of PAIA. I think that's right. Thank you, Chair.
When are you going to submit the report?
I think it has been done. We were out of time, Chair. I'll just confirm. We'll confirm it in writing that that report was done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. May I hand over to the acting COO to take the members through the questions that are related to the core business?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson, and good evening to you and to the honorable members. On the question that was raised by Honorable Maseko Jele on the increased targets from 2 to 3 on systemic investigations, considering the number of staff that have left the office and whether we'll be able to meet the target. I can indicate that indeed we are on course to meet the target on the number of those systemic investigations that have been identified. And as the chairperson has also indicated, we are trying to stretch the resources that we have and to see how much more we can do with the limited resources that we have. So we have not intended to reduce this target, regardless of those staff members who have left us, but rather to also see how we can do our work much more smartly in organizing teams to then assist in conducting these investigations, and to also institute more of a project-based kind of investigations so that we can then achieve this target. So at this stage, we are not going to be reducing the target for systemic investigations, as well as for matters to be finalized, so that then we focus more on the service that we would like to deliver to the communities that we serve as per our mandate. The comment, and I will say it's a comment from Honorable Swart on the 65% target of cases older than 2 years. Indeed, it is at 65%. However, the project to really deal with the backlog still remains, and the project teams are still in place, so that while we have targeted this at 65%, noting the complexity of the matters that we are dealing with, the CEO has indicated in her response that some of the matters are quite complex, like, for example, your ESCOM matters, your independent power producers matters, that may actually affect our achievement of 100% target, noting the kind of expertise that we have also identified as required to fully and properly conduct the investigations on these matters. But we are focusing with earnest on these matters that are in the backlog or are older than 2 years, so that we can reduce, or if not eliminate in its entirety, this backlog, while we note that some of the matters, as indicated to their complexity, may still lead to a slightly longer period within the measures that we have put in place. I think the CEO has actually responded to the issue of the phased-in project or a model when we don't have when we have not finalized the organizational development study that is underway. So that has been dealt with. And the issue of the breakdown of cases that have of or no jurisdiction matters. It's various matters that have no jurisdiction, and the full breakdown can be provided, but some of those matters would be matters that have already been presented before the various tribunals. For example, matters that have already been presented before court by the parties, and the court has actually granted judgment in those matters, we would still get complaints of that nature. Matters that have been before the CCMA would still get complaints of that nature. In some instances, we'll find that it's matters that, in terms of this, the complaint itself, it is against the state organ. But for example, a complaint that would involve the Department of Justice, but it relates to a divorce matter. we do not have jurisdiction as the Office of the Public Protector, but we do get such complaints that would still come to us where complainants or our communities would still say, because it's a state organ, and it falls within the mandate of the public protector. But through our outreach processes and interaction with complainants, we are also given that opportunity to then educate them that it may be against a state organ, but it relates to an issue that does not necessarily fall within the mandate of the office itself. But in terms of the full breakdown of all those matters as per our report, then that would be provided. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. You are muted.
No, Honorable Swart, in terms of the legal fees discrepancies, I'll just have to explain to say that legal services, sometimes it depends on the timing of the reporting. At what time, when the portfolio committee are requesting the information will be a live document. And once the auditors have audited the information, will also be reporting a different figure because it will be based on the audited information. And another thing, in the previous financials, you will find out that there were restatements done in regards to the legal fees, so they will also affect those legal fees. The corrections of the billing of the invoices by the supplier will also affect the reporting because it's a live document. And then in terms of the question raised by Honorable Nivote, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, exactly what happened. This relates to the telecommunication contracts, where there was no effective communication between the new and the old service providers, which they ended up doing the same service provider for 1 month. However, the investigation is still ongoing to ensure that this does not repeat. And once it's done, then consequence management will be applied in regards to that. And then the other small fruitless and wasteful expenditure relates to when some of our colleagues are missing the flights. However, as well, the investigation are still ongoing. And once it's concluded, then consequence management will also be applied. Then in terms of the department, in terms of the question asked by Honorable Mangwanishe, the bailout from the Department of Justice, the bailout, once the Department of Justice has, or Department of Justice as well as National Treasury can assist us in fixing our baseline, I don't think moving forward we can actually request the bailout. Once our baseline is amended or fixed, then we can be able to proceed on our own without any assistance. Thank you, Chairperson.
But the issue is that without them, are you a going concern?
We can't hear Chairperson. Chairperson speaking.
Acting CFO, without this bailout, will you be able to be a going concern?
Going concern.
Yes, but it will not be lasting for a very long time because for now we are a going concern because we've got the surplus. But once the baseline is not fixed, sooner or later it will catch up with us, and then we might be struggling as a going concern. Thank you.
Okay.
Chairperson, I will now deal with the remaining questions. Firstly, I would like to thank the honorable members really for the comments showing confidence in our institution, especially under these difficult circumstances, and the support that you continue to express in your comments. Referring to Honorable Maseko Jele, in respect of the issue of the vacancies, how hard-hitting are those, as well as how do we ensure that we don't drop the ball, as well as the viability of the position of the COO. Honorable Chairperson, as the CEO has indicated, we actually are quite expedient in filling in the vacant position. The reason why the 23 positions have still not been filled, it's because we are doing a thorough assessment of our budget vis-a-vis which of these positions are we able to afford. But we have advertised some of the positions, and some we have staff who will be resuming work on the 1st of November. The position of the COO, Chairperson, it's important that I highlight the protocol roles within the institution. The CEO, as per the Public Protector Act, is actually emphasized as assisting the Public Protector in administrative work. And the Public Protector, as you are well aware, is the executive authority. The COO in the institution right now plays the role of coordination of investigations and quality assurance at that level of the investigations. Considering the challenge in the quality of our investigations and the fact that we are an institution with a footprint throughout the country with provincial offices, we do require the quality assurance and the coordination at head office to also ensure that the Public Protector, as the executive authority, allows due process in line with our SOPs to take place before the Public Protector becomes more involved in the investigation, so that it allows for proper advice and recommendations before the matters come before the Public Protector. There was one appearance, Chairperson, if you recall, where the Chairperson asked whether the Public Protector and the Deputy Public Protector do not require advisors at the executive authority level. And there were mixed feelings about that. But that's where the position of the COO comes in, to properly advise the Public Protector and the Deputy Public Protector on matters of core business from an institutional point of view, rather than having an advisor who will be attached to the Public Protector or the Deputy Public Protector at the private office level. So at this stage, the position has shown to be very critical, as we've also put in place several quality assurance levels and steps, and one of them is that of the office of the COO, and thereafter it is that at the level of the Public Protector. In the last quarter, Chairperson, I must say that it has proven to be very critical, and it is evident from some of the feedback that we are getting out of the reports that we have produced in the last quarter. The issue of the vacancies, I think as well, Chairperson, when you look at a similar institution like ours of the AG, the notice period is much longer than what ours is, which is just 1 month, which is basically linked to government. Maybe at higher positions, we are going to have to consider whether we are in a position to probably follow the same best practice that has been created by the Auditor General. Further, on the issue of the security clearance, Chairperson, this is the mandate of the SSA. So we have found that the SSA has had a major backlog in security clearance, which has actually affected our numbers in this regard, resulting in some of the employees having to be reassessed because of the time lapses. However, we are in conversation with the State Security Act to actually prioritize the issue of the security clearance. On the questions raised by Honorable Swart. The position of the CFO, we have advertised it for the second time. Unfortunately, we could not find many suitable candidates who would actually give a competitive recruitment process. We've therefore re-advertised, and we are really hoping to fill that position as soon as possible. Indeed, it is a critical position, and that also goes for the position of the COO. Yes, so on the issue of the implementation of the remedial action, as much as we appreciate that the speaker has referred this to the leader of government business, chairperson, I think it is also in line with the constitution, where organs of states, which include parliament, have to assist the public protector in executing its duties. Parliament also have a responsibility to do so. We have humbly re-emphasized that to the speaker to share with members of parliament, because it also assists them in their oversight duties to realize what institutions such as ours would have made recommendations and remedial actions on. Hence, we will also be embarking on this roadshow where we speak to the several party political caucuses in parliament. It is really to re-emphasize this particular position. Yes, Honorable Member, we are in conversation with the ISD, but maybe it's because of the vacancy that was there for a while of the Secretary to Parliament that we really did not feel the much effectiveness of this office of the ISD, but we are giving them an opportunity, as we have already started to interact with the office of the Secretary to Parliament, and as well as to the Speaker, for more interaction and assistance from the office of the ISD. On the issue of the amendment to the investigative model, Chairperson, CEO has touched on part of this, but also for an institution as critical as ours, it's important that we have a well-thought, well-researched business plan before we change our investigative model. From knowledge management side, they have been doing some research in this regard, comparing with international institutions such as ours, considering that we have the issues of the remedial actions, the issues of our developed jurisprudence. This also needs to find expression in our investigative model. Therefore, it is not just a matter of out of the frustration that we are going through to just put something together and take it through. And also critically what CEO has raised of the organizational development and proper assessment of the skills that we have, looking into the structure, whether the investigative model, which we finally would consider, would fit into the current structure, the human resources, the cost, and all that need to be considered before we finalize an investigative model that will actually take the institution forward and improve our performance and our functioning. On the state of capture report, we actually realized that we've got a pivotal role to play in this. This is a report that is deriving from our remedial action, and we're actually proud of ourselves on this report. We have already written to the Speaker of the National Assembly, Chairperson, to inform her that we will be closely monitoring the implementation of the recommendations by the Zondo Commission. We have also written to the President of the Republic of South Africa. Initially, we were requesting the report as provided to him by the Zondo Commission, but also advising him of our role in respect of the monitoring of the implementation, since it is a report of the public protector. From our side, we have already appointed a team that is busy analyzing the report so that we put together a proper plan to ensure the monitoring of that report, because it is important, as it would also assist us in some of the reforms which we have been suggesting to government to ensure that we lessen some of the governance gaps that have been taking place. Honorable Nieuho Drachen, Honorable Member, the issue of the mobile app has already been responded to. I just want to make emphasis, Chairperson, on the issue of the matter that we are still continuing with of Mr. Samuel. I want to assure members that this is a well thought legal move in our respect. We've had a number of labor matters which were pending, and we've actually withdrawn from some of these matters, and I think we are settling on one of these matters because of a thorough legal analysis and opinion that we've done internally in respect of these matters, and that resulted that we need to continue in the matter of Mr. Samuel. And the other matter, we've actually decided not to oppose, so we shall abide by the court's decision on that matter. So the decision is well thought. We've done a thorough analysis in this respect. If I may also just add on the non-jurisdictional matters, what we also do on the matters, particularly where they've been referred to us as an office of first instance that should have gone to government processes first, we do not register these matters. However, we monitor them and we interact with the state organs on behalf of the complainants, and we note once they are assisted, and then we remove them from our CSM register of monitoring these matters. So no complainant goes away without being assisted. And as the acting COO has already spoken on the other matters, there are those indeed which we cannot assist in those matters, but the service delivery matters, we ensure that we closely monitor. On the absorption from internship, because of financial constraints, we've really not been able on our side to have internship programs. Yes, we have been absorbing some of the interns, and others we have not been absorbing, but we are also looking at that with the CEO to see if we can't have interns in some of the areas that we are short of. But it is a careful assessment that the CEO is embarking on, because we do not want to have general interns and then thereafter we are unable to assist them, because the aim is also to ensure that we impart knowledge of the workforce up and to the interns. And as it has been, we cannot proudly say we've been optimally being able to do so. So we need to look into areas where we can optimally do so, and also areas where we are in need. On the signing of the performance agreements, Chairperson, I am advised that we've had 2 of the employees who were on suspension, and one of them joined the organization towards the far end of the quarter, hence they could not sign off the performance agreements. In respect of the roadshow, honorable members, we are actually back with outreach programs. Our outreach officers have already started to go to communities. I was also in the Northern Cape a few weeks back doing outreach there. And also we will be utilizing our Good Governance Week to also expand our visibility and outreach. However, in some of the areas, particularly the most rural areas, we have not been able to reach because of the type of vehicles that we have, which are Corollas. So the CEO and the team are in the process of finalizing the procurement of bakkies so that we can reach the far rural areas even at rainy days. Honorable members, I would like to go on then to the questions by Honorable Breitenbach. Honorable Breitenbach, on the savings regarding the litigation, we will provide the written estimates, or rather figures that we would have calculated. But I must say that in terms of the actual case litigation, we only have one matter left that is running in court. Majority of them we've withdrawn. We are abiding in some of those matters. What litigation that we have is some of the litigation which we are paying for the public protector, which I think has already been exhausted in the Western Cape High Court, and the other litigation we are not paying for, but we will provide the actual figures in respect of the savings. But I don't think it is a savings that would make a difference in respect of our expenditure, because we've in any event been spending money that we do not have. In respect of career pathing and headhunting or getting outsiders to fulfill the skills and promoting internally, honorable members, we have promoted internally. Advocate van der Merwe is one of the, we call him the ancestor of the institution, who's been here since the inception of Public Protector South Africa, who's been recently promoted because of his institutional memory and the role that he really plays in the running of the institution as the head of legal services. We have several other colleagues who have been promoted, but the reality is that honorable members, our mandate has developed as Public Protector South Africa, and we do not internally have that skill or the capacity of that skill, particularly the interpretation of the law, and considering that our remedial actions are binding, we need to foresee within our investigations how the court would react should we be taken on review on some of our matters, and therefore need to be more legally intense, as indeed as an ombudsman from our inception, it wasn't intended that we would necessarily be so legally intense, and therefore we've been fortunate enough to attract from other institutions. For example, from the 1st of November, we would be joined by one of who was prosecuting in the National Prosecuting Authority, whom we've looked at that we do require that highly legal skill to also assist within training and imparting skills in the institution. So therefore, we are on that path of attracting external skills. And in respect of training, honorable members, we've been fortunate to have some retirees who've offered themselves to assist us in respect of training pro bono, because at this stage, we are quite intense in the institution in terms of our day-to-day operations. As much as we do some of the training that the CEO has referred to, really, we do not have as much time to focus fully into training and institutionalized training as we would wish to and as it is supposed to, as well as research. Therefore, we are really looking forward to these offers, and which we will be taking up soon, and we are in the process of finalizing them coming through to assist us in that respect. On the questions that the chairperson has raised, the issue of the processing of the review applications. Chairperson, we are busy finalizing our review policy. Actually, the content thereof has already been finalized. It just needs to go through the approval protocols, which will really assist us to ensure that we do not have any slip-ups in respect of the review applications, and that they are processed accordingly. So even the issue of the induction of the new employees will actually be addressed by the volunteers that we are going to get, but also we are in a process of developing a proper induction manual. But because we are doing these things internally, it does take a bit of time, but it is work in progress, which also includes the amendment to the Public Protector Act, which we are also doing internally. The one question, Chairperson, from yours, which I also just want to emphasize on, Chairperson, is that, the issue of our targets is a very critical issue. With the analysis that Advocate van der Merwe is embarking on, and which we have reaffirmed over our 3-day strat plan, which we have just come from, is that we need to ensure that our target is balanced by the number of employees we have in investigations and any other deliverable that we have, obviously the cost thereof, but also to the number of matters that we receive and have to investigate as an institution. There needs to be a balance in that effect, so that we are able to ensure that there's a proper output as well as in quality, quantity, and impact. So it is a process that we are carefully embarking on, and the next time we meet with you, Chairperson, and honorable members will be able to deliver a well thought and researched targets for our next financial year. I thank you.
No, thank you very much, Public Protector. Now, if I may just ask one issue, this monitoring of the implementation of the Zondo report, what would it entail with respect to Parliament and the President? If, for instance, you are not happy as the initiator of the whole process, what will you do?
Thank you, Chairperson. As we do with our ordinary remedial action, in which we are now advancing, we will continuously be interacting with the affected departments, particularly through Parliament, through the Speaker's office. Hence, we have also written to the Speaker to ensure that there is an enforcement in this regard. And Chairperson, just one last thing, with your indulgence, please, on the amendments to the Executive Members Ethics Act, kindly, as I've stated in the opening remarks, if the honorable members may please also make follow-up in that regard. From the feedback that we had received is that some time ago, it was referred to this portfolio committee. We have, however, not verified that that is information that we are receiving from the Speaker's office. In that respect, we do not then know how far it has gone. The Speaker has not responded to us. We will, however, be making follow-up with the Speaker, as we had written to her about 2 months ago in this respect. I've also raised the matter with the Secretary to Parliament, particularly because of the judgment of the Constitutional Court in respect of the Executive Code. It legal action be attended to. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. We will also follow up and engage the office of the Speaker, because I do think that also we have reached a stage where the work before us, especially with Concord deadline, and the fact that we only have the next year to do all of these things, maybe we should, especially with respect to that Executive Ethics Code, if it was referred to us, which I don't think so, but we will follow up, engage with the Office of the Speaker on the desirability of appointing an ad hoc committee, because I think it's quite urgent, and also the Concord judgments that are before us, which require us to amend quite a number of bills, are also quite urgent. So I think to do justice to that, I think it will, as Parliament, not generally as justice, I think it would be important for us to be much more, what can I say, creative, because I do think that what you are suggesting is quite urgent, but we will follow up with the Office of the Speaker. There is a hand from Honorable Jelle.
Oh, okay, thank you, Chair. I think it's a small thing. I didn't hear this one because maybe the network dealt with me on the issue of the discrepancies of the slips of the fuel expenditure. I didn't hear that one, Chair. And lastly, Chair, just a follow-up on the rural services, rural area services, on the issue of the drop box. I think I didn't hear them saying anything particular on this one. How is it doing?
Okay, thank you very much. PP, Acting PP, or anyone that you would delegate to answer those operational questions.
Thank you, Chairperson. The issue on the fuel expenditure and any other wasteful expenditure has been referred and is being dealt with by the Financial Misconduct Committee, who conduct an investigation in this regard and then make recommendations and give a report for implementation. So that aspect is being attended to in respect of consequence management processes that have to. In respect of the drop boxes, Honorable Jele, the drop boxes have been dispatched through the rural areas, and these colleagues, the outreach officers, do make follow-up on to collect the information. However, I'm being advised that they are not as effective as they are supposed to be, and in this regard, with the outreach which we have already started now, we are intensifying our education and our awareness to communities in respect of the drop boxes, wary that some of the people, it is best to meet a person and speak to them rather than to deliver to a box which they are not sure of whether that box will be transported back to the office and the information will be received. So we just need to do more work in the assurance to community members that these drop boxes also represent us as the Office of the Public Protector, where we are unable to spread our wings to. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Acting PP. I think we have come to the end of the meeting. But what I would suggest, or what I would like to propose to members, firstly, the issue of security. I do think that we should still recommend that the issue of monitoring devices is not enough. With the Concord judgment that gave power to public protector that the remedial actions are binding, and with some of the investigations that you are doing as common, all of those investigations, I think we should really be serious about the security of that office and the provincial offices. So the issue of that just putting monitoring devices, we don't think that it should be taken as proper security. I think that is one issue that we should be dealing with. And the request that you have made in terms of additional financial support, because the issue, for instance, relating to Section 194 process, it's not something that you planned for. It's something that has been imposed on you. It's something that we should, as the committee, ensure that those additional financial in fact, that additional financial support is supported, but they should also be on your side, be a rigorous saving mechanism, especially in as far as your your litigation issues, because I think that is a lot of money. That I think you have said that you have tried to withdraw or not to challenge some of the cases, but we know that some of the cases are important, that they should be challenged to advance and to develop our jurisprudence. But we think that there should be a serious balancing act, so that we also ensure that monies are saved to fund other operational areas in the Office of the Public Protector. But I think there are issues that we think that they are very much important. The issue that you should be continuously be bailed out by the Department of Justice is not sustainable. The issue of security cannot be compromised. I would recommend members that we should look at those issues, especially as we make recommendations in our PRRR, that these are the issues that we do not have a blanket view that the budget should not be cut, but we should be specific that these are the areas that we think that National Treasury should be looking at assisting the Office of the Public Protector. Thank you very much, Acting PP, and to your team. Thank you for the hard work and thank you for the results. And I'm particularly pleased with especially on the operational vacancies, the speed with which you are able to fill the vacancies once they become vacant. Other entities, they take forever, they take years just to fill one vacancy. So I think even in areas where you are not able to fill, for instance, there is a detailed explanation with regards to the Chief Financial Officer. but we still think that you should try whatever it is possible to ensure that you have a chief financial officer is a backbone of the organization. It's important that you have a chief financial officer. And because your core response, in fact, your core mandate is investigations. So the COO position is important that as soon as possible it is filled because it's quite clear that you need it. I think those would be our views. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the honorable members.
Thank you very much. Members, can we have just 2 minutes just to talk about next week? As people are leaving, can we just have 2 minutes?
May we kindly be excused, Chairperson?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's late.
2 minutes, Mamutshelo, 2 minutes.
No
Maybe
problem, Chair.
Yes, we can just start now. Members, I think on Wednesday, we have been requested to be physical in Cape Town, in Parliament, for the MTP-BBS. I would suggest that members generally arrive maybe Monday or Tuesday, but that will have a bearing for Wednesday. I think what we should do, we should ask the Secretariat to check, especially with respect to buses, as to when they will be collecting members from the villages. Because if they collect members at 12, that will be, in fact, that would be an indication to us as to at what time we should adjourn on Wednesday. We are dealing with hate crime, hate speech bill. I'm not sure whether are there any members who know at what time will buses be collecting members from the villages?
Chair, Steve here, I do understand that there was a discussion that the buses would be taking members straight to the venue. Remember that it's going to be the City Hall.
Yes.
So I presume there'd be additional buses early in the morning for the committee purposes as well. My challenge will be, there's also the lockup. I'm on finance, so I'm going to have to divide myself between hate crimes and finance. I will try to be with justice as long as I can. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's assist. I think maybe before we go to Honorable Breitenbach, if the committee secretariat can get all that information, whether there will be buses in the morning, because that will help us to plan. That will help if we can get all that information from the committee secretariat, maybe by tomorrow, before end of business tomorrow. Honorable Breitenbach.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. If everyone's going to be in Cape Town, why don't we have an in-person meeting? Then everyone can walk to the City Hall from Parliament. It's really not far.
Yeah. Committee Secretary, would you look at all those possibilities, because we're told that there are committee rooms that are there in Parliament, and then we check whether there are any other committees that are meeting. We look at all those to just do your project management. If you are able to get a venue, that will be fine. If we are not, we look at the other possibilities. Honorable Nivo Trochen, your hand was up.
It's answered because I was asking about the buses going early and the lockup. Would that mean we have a meeting and committee rooms are available? So you've answered that. That was my question.
Okay.
Because it is actually not far to walk to City Hall.
Okay. So, Committee Secretary, can you look at all of those issues and advise accordingly so that we are able to plan our work properly?
Through you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, Chair. With regards to the venues of the physical meeting, it will be a very serious challenge because there are very limited venues after what happened to Parliament. And due to the lockup, most of the venues will be used for the lockup. So we will look into the issues of buses, but I'm sure for ease of process, we will need to have a virtual meeting, not a physical one, but we will look to the
Yeah. Don't be so negative. Find a venue.
Honorable Swart and his team take all the venues during lockup.
I don't.
Okay. So no, but I think what we'll just check if there are venues available, and then if not, then look at your second model of I'm not sure, I think I'm tired. Look at your second option, which is the buses, the times, and all of those things. I think that is done. And then, honorable members, I think we should be getting, we should try and check with, I think, Committee Secretariat, if you can check with the department as to how far is this bill, what is this thing, a RECA bill. Because I was in the Committee of Intelligence, there is a lot of anxiety around the bill. We are left with less than 12 months, and we've got a lot of other bills that have got deadlines. And if that bill is not passed, there would be serious problems. So I think it's one of those bills that we should maybe, if it goes through the cabinet this year, maybe we ensure that before we adjourn, it is advertised for public comments, but as soon as possible. But it's one of those bills that we would need to prioritize. The law enforcement agencies are going to struggle if we don't meet the deadlines there. That will be all on my side, members.
Can I just add, Stevia, that the lockup for MPs is at the City Hall. So there should be, yeah. But the journalists and the economists are having lockups in the parliamentary precinct. So maybe there will be, I'm sure there could be venues available. S12A, we've used that. M46 possibly. These are possibilities. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So Sia, you've got all those options to look at.
Sia just doesn't want to look.
So can we please be advised, at least the latest by Monday, with respect to the venues, but members also please note that those who will be flying in, if we can start booking by tomorrow, there is also a challenge with flights. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Re a leboha, Chairperson.
Re a leboha, mme re leboga haholo.